of the video I've done since 2015 or 14, and it's a huge project. And one of the things I've realized is that I have done too much video in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm weaning off of video. I'm figuring out where video fits. I still do video,
Yeah.
especially for advanced and advancing clients. And then if anybody wants to shortboard better, that's where it's at, is video for those people.
Exactly.
They don't need necessarily my help with wave judgment. I'd love to do more of that kind of more advanced coaching, but people are, I think, more into hiring the Scootins and more recognized sponsored pro surfers for that kind of thing. But that stuff's really fun. That more advanced coaching is really fun because it's less hard on your body because you're filming.
Well, yeah, and also it's there's more to talk about, rather than just, you need to position your body and angle it this way. You're like, no, you need to open up your shoulders, or you need to move your neck. There's a lot more minutia that you can geek over.
That's what Gerlach's doing, right? So
sort of. Wave Gerlach he does the training, but then he has his whole yoga kind of process that he's doing with Wave Key, which is a mix of kung fu and yoga and surfing. I would describe it as. But what what you're doing, what you want to do is almost what I think a lot of what we're starting to see more of that kind of development, like Josh Kerr and those guys doing that type of coaching, on getting surfers to that next level, which is, would be that would be so much fun to teach.
And in my ultimate so I don't believe in more humans getting along in general would be nice. More people seeing clearly. We could just say it would be nice, and it's not I veer towards the optimistic side just because it's a survival strategy for me, and also because I'm a teacher and I've seen people unlock their potential, and it's super empowering for student and teacher alike. And I do think where Timothy Leary is where all the surfing theories have been wrong, or the ways of crystallizing surfing, is that they focus on the expert surfer, and the expert surfer does have very incredible intuitive knowledge and maybe is superior in certain ways. But if you don't have the social ethical component, if you just think of yourself as superior qua superior and everybody else can just get effed, that's not superior. You're actually not doing the thing correctly. And if you're not it's not enough for good surfers to just surf well.
No.
You need to move to a role of stewardship for the lineup. To core, because I think, to kind of pivot on what Leary is saying, I would just say it's more, we're potentially that superior creature, and that because surfers are so aware and so intuitive, I think that the more good surfers that take responsibility and take this stewardship role, and the more, basically, I believe, with my motto, more waves, more joy, I don't mean more waves for one individual surfer. I mean, the more people surfing waves well, the more exponential joy is in the lineup. Because when I surf with 5 good surfers, you would think there would be less waves to go around. There are more. That day that me and you and Saul and Steve Rodriguez were sitting,
rotating.
Yeah, and it was we communicated. We were we knew who went last. We're watching each other's rides. So you get a good one, and you increase my joy level because I'm stoked for you that you got a good wave. And then I get a good wave, and then I'm inside and Saul gets tubed, and then Steve gets one, and then it just raises, and then maybe one of my students gets one of their best waves. And so I do believe that and I think we're seeing it in pro surf. Again, not perfect. Nothing's perfect. And it comes with compromises. And there's still something to criticize. And nothing's perfect. But how fast is surfing turning around? We've had terrible misogyny, terrible racism, terrible homophobia in surfing. It's still there. It's not gone. But whoa, pro surfing has done a 180 whoa, like it's crazy. Like I didn't like honestly, I never thought I'd see this happen in my lifetime.
It's
Like
awesome.
never.
It's awesome to see the change, and particularly like WSL has really, I think, done a great job in that regard. From a an inclusionary aspect, just
They're on their way.
they're
On
they're
their
they're
way.
they're doing
They're on
they're
their
not
way.
there, but they are
Yeah.
in a great direction. I felt before Surfer Magazine had folded, it was heading in that direction too. They were just starting to really cover more of the diversity of surfing and tell a more fuller picture of surf history. So I think and then you have a lot of podcasts and other things that are pushing it towards that direction. You have an industry that's resisting that change or not really taking advantage of it or embracing it.
Did you hear, speaking of Volcom selling the pipe house?
Yeah. They're selling the pipe.
That's wild. I think because
much, like 3 million. That's
I know. That's what I heard. A client told me today. I was like, whoa, I don't know. That's just crazy. But what I was going to say is, what's selling in surfing right now? Not the clothes.
No, it's the real estate and boards and
it's
wetsuits.
The hard goods. It's the suits. You can't even get mittens right now. My shaper in LA, Jose, Miracle Man. Jose Barahona.
Yeah.
Oh man. This guy, like, long story of how I know this guy. I've had 2 really bad business dealings in the history of my business. Jose was not at fault, but the middleman actually just unfollowed him I was like, why do I still follow you? Middleman he never actually stole money. He just kept it for a long time and the boards never came. And then I don't know what happened there, but anyway, Jose's boards are amazing, but he's been slammed. Like the shapers have been slammed and the sweatsuit companies have been slammed, and it's like reoriented even the surf companies.
Yeah. Well, the clothing when it comes down to it, the clothing aspect is not essential to surfing. We could get clothing wherever. It doesn't matter. We don't have to wear Billabong to say that we're a surfer. We don't have to wear Quicksilver to show our coreness or that we're part of this culture anymore. It's the hard goods that are necessary, and I think surfers are realizing that, and maybe the industry is starting to realize how crucial that is and put more emphasis there. But,
like a hoodie, or even if you're gonna have a clothing brand, because humans need to wear clothing and humans like to develop style. As I put on my personal Instagram the other day, I previously was actually a fashion theorist and was writing a dissertation on philosophy of fashion, and the way that the 2 dissertations actually relate to one another is that I believe that we have a responsibility to others to develop a style. I kind of take that from Nietzsche, and that's based upon an understanding that I don't exist in a world where it's just me. I always appear before others, and when somebody it doesn't, and you have a style whether you create one.
Everyone has style.
You have a style, you pick things, you like things, you have preferences, or you're positioning yourself against all of this other stuff. You don't like the way people wear things in this way or whatever. So but with clothing, like with everything else, it needs to, fashion needs to slow down. You need to make things really good. It's okay if they're a little bit more expensive, but they need to be well made because, I don't know. It's a problem. It's, again, we're back to capitalism, because then you
fast
get
fashion is a real problem.
Well, planned obsolescence. I mean, if you think of Apple, if you create a product too good, then there's no need to come back to that. The person's going to be stoked and tell other people to buy that product because it's super awesome. But if you don't plan some obsolescence in it, but you're not going through Apple computers as fast as you're going through fast fashion.
No. I mean, for some t-shirts and everything, No. So I want to finish this up because we've been talking quite a while here.
Yeah, we've been talking forever. We could talk forever.
I know. I really enjoy this, and it's really fun talking to you. But I want to know, before we go here, what is surfing defined by you?
Oh,
a whole nother podcast right there, by the way.
Yeah, it's a whole podcast.
Yeah, but try to break it down here.
Well, okay, I already said it though. I do think that it's a few things. I don't like one sentence definitions of anything.
Yeah,
because I believe things are really complicated. But like, it's a relationship to the ocean, first of all, and to waves, and to ocean waves. So that it's a relationship to the ocean and ocean waves, and then it's a language game. Like, to use that structure, Wittgenstein's theory of language games. So it has grammar. It has other language games that it's related to. And I think language can be confusing in the term of language games, because what Wittgenstein means by a language game is a form of life. Yeah. So it's a practice, and it has a history, and it has a culture, and it has all of these different ways that it's been done and conceived and practiced and taught and not taught and all of that kind of stuff. So I like the broader definition, because I know people like how many articles have we read in surf magazines about whether surfing is a sport, an art, or a religion?
Oh gosh.
Like, and then like big wave surfing being it's all of that. It can be all of that if you want to use those words, but it's a practice. And I do think though it is a research practice. I do think that there's an athletic component, of course, but
I feel like surfing in some ways is almost like, I've always felt like sometimes it's a practice of refinement in many ways. I feel like surfing is, whether you're riding a pool or on a skimboard or whatever, you're always refining your skill, you're getting better at it, or you're trying to get better at it. You're constantly practicing and refining what you do.
Yeah. But, the thing is, in that way, it's so much like other research practices in the scientific spirit.
Totally.
Which is that, like, you develop methods that work for the most part so that you can apprehend things clearly and, like, feel like you have a grip on reality. But the beauty of science, and what makes it different from religion, when people are like, science is another religion, it's just like nonsense. No, it is not, because when you are shown a better way of doing things, you change.
Exactly. You adopt. You change.
Yeah. You're like, oh man, I was wrong for a long time. All right, cool. What's great about being a human? I can change my mind.
Exactly.
And I can change my practices, like we can change, like once we see this thing like I'm talking about, like actually the gatekeeping, like if the Lunada Bay surfers, instead of throwing rocks at people, were like, you can surf here. You need to pay this toll, and you need to sit on the shoulder for these waves. You need to be respectful to her, him, and him. We all have priority. You can catch the inside waves. And as long as you pay the toll and obey these protocols, you can surf here. You don't have to throw rocks at people.
It's ridiculous.
You still get all your waves. Like, and then maybe you realize like it's actually more fun to surf when you're not angry, because like you have what Freud calls the narcissism of small differences. Like,
but also, Dion, like all of a sudden they have an audience for their ripping, and they don't have to worry about competing. You have like, to me, I'm like, awesome. Like, they sit on the shoulder and watch me rip. Sweet.
Oh, there's this guy. I want to talk. I know we could keep talking. You can cut this out. But there's this guy in Moss Landing that like this. I said it. I'm from Moss Landing.
Yeah.
It came out. Where I grew up there. And, like everybody recognized me, but some people like, are like, you're not a local anymore. And I'm like, I grew up in the harbor. Like, okay, whatever. So they're gonna like haze me. So there's this one guy though. I wake up really early, and there's always been this like little dawn patrol kind of competition. And this guy, well, he didn't actually used to surf the jetty a lot. He mostly surfed the dunes, but this guy John Ferreira, and like it'll be just me and him in the water, beautiful sunrise, like
Yeah.
good waves. And he's just screaming at me the whole time. I'm like, John, you're like ruining the morning. And like so I paddle over, like try to paddle